Greetings to you. Bishop Vetter here, your bishop. I'm in the sacristy. The sacristy is where we store everything that's used for the sacraments. And I thought what I'd do here for this little video for you is explain some of the things that we use at Mass, right from the sacristy here. So I kept my vestments on so I can describe to you what I have. First, I had this off already. This is my mitre, right? So this is the that you wear in the processions. Take it off when you pray. But tradition has said a few things. The packed tails, some say they stand for the Old Testament and the New Testament. Also, practically speaking, right, in the Middle Ages, you could tie it on so it wouldn't fly off when you're riding your horse to another town. Also, the two panels, the front and the back, to show earthly power and heavenly power brought into one person. Because if I was your bishop in the Middle Ages, I not only would be your bishop, but I'd also be your governor, right, during the feudal times. So that's what that is, right, to show it. As well, I have my ring, right, my episcopal ring that shows that I'm wedded to the church, that I received the fullness of the priesthood. I have the crozier. By the way, this is Michael. He's the sacristan. He does all the work in here. He's been doing it forever. This is the pastoral staff, or the crozier, right, that you use to walk in, walk out, but also as a symbol that I'm the shepherd, right? So it's a pastoral staff. When I'm in the cathedral or in the Diocese of Helena, I carry it with the staff outward that I'm leading. If I'm in someone else's diocese, it would be turned this way, that I'm not the leader, I'm not the shepherd of that diocese. So, little trivia for you. And I also have, I wear a zucchetto, this little guy. Zucchetto comes from the Italian word, zucca. So we get the word zucchini from it. Pumpkin, all those things that grow too fast and everyone gives away and you can't get rid of. But so it actually means pumpkin top. You see, it looks like a pumpkin top when you cut off the top of a pumpkin, right? So that's where it gets its name from. It looks like a pumpkin top, called a zucchetto. This here's a chasuble. These vestments, many times what happened, early on in the church, they were just using the clothing that was being used in society. Then as styles changed, the church just kept some of them and just kept wearing them, right? And they became liturgical vestments and they were used just for Mass. So really, it's not a toga, but very similar, right, to the Roman toga, where you just tie something around and this would be their clothes, what they would wear. But now it's a vestment that we use for Mass, called a chasuble. So here, Michael. Then the bishop wears a pectoral cross. That's what this is. This pectoral cross belonged to who?
Bishop Rondell.
Bishop Rondell, the first bishop of the Diocese of Helena, so from the 1800s. And inside of it, actually, we had to solder it. But inside of it is a relic of the true cross that St. Helena found in the 4th century in the Holy Land in Jerusalem. Isn't that remarkable? So it's inside. So I wear that every time I celebrate Mass. Then, the stole. The stole that the priest wears actually symbolizes the yoke. See, if you can imagine a yoke, right? The oxen that they would put on a pair of oxen. This is also a yoke, and the priest wears it for the celebration of the sacraments, right? That Jesus says, my yoke is easy and my burden light, because the priesthood, the celebration of the sacraments, is to lift the burden off of people. And also that Jesus, there's never just one, right? You have a pair. And so this yoke also means that Jesus is paired with me, right? As I act in the person of Christ to celebrate the sacraments. So a stole, that goes there. This white garment is called an alb. It actually, the servers wear it, right? Different ministers wear it. It comes actually from our baptismal garment. It is my baptismal garment. In the early church, when adults were baptized, they would have wore a garment like this for a month, they think. That people would see him in public and say, oh, look, a Christian, a new Christian, right? That it was something you wore. You wore your faith, right? You've heard that before. Well, that's where this vestment comes from. So the priest puts it on, the bishop, to remind us of the dignity of our baptism. That everything starts with baptism. And we do it for other sacraments too, right? We put you in your white garment for your baptism. Then for the First Holy Communion, right? The little girls put on their dress. little white dress and veil. When they get married, the bride wears white. That's her baptismal garment, right? And then all of us are clothed in white again when we die, in the casket. When the funeral pall is placed over, it's white to remind us that we're not dead, right? That we don't die forever, that we have eternal life. So that's the L. This here is called a cincture. Gets its name from the knot that I make. It's called a cincture knot. I don't know if you can zoom in how you make the cincture knot. If those of you who were in Boy Scouts and had learned knots, one of the knots you learned was a cincture knot. This is the cincture knot. One goes through, the other one goes through there. You pull it, and that's it. When you sit, it loosens, and all I have to do to tighten it back up is reach underneath my vestments, grab on to the rope, and pull it, and it gets tight again. And so it gets its name from the actual knot. It's called a cincture, just to hold it on to stuff so I stay together. So that's the cincture.